Hello everyone, my name is Tomcat and welcome back to my Minecraft 8 to 14 series. So today we are finally building the full-size configurable shulker box filler machine. So I did spend a couple hours running the flying TNT machine back and forth over by my perimeter and got a bunch more iron and finally made all the hoppers that I need. So I got my 5 stacks of hoppers and got little extra pieces in case I need it. I don't think I'll need this stuff, but just in case, I'll bring that shulker box too. And I've got all the colored concrete blocks I'm going to need. The white one's going to be for the main center platform, so that's that. Anyway, so I actually scouted out an area where I'm going to build this machine. I'm actually going to build it right outside my house, right there where that little hill is, between this house and the redstone park. And it's because, logically, I'll be leaving my house and think, oh, I need to go build like a redstone thing in the redstone park. Let me go refill my redstone shulker box. So run to the configurable shulker box filler machine and fill it with all the redstone stuff I need. So that's where I am going to do it. So let's pick up these shulker boxes real quick. And let's head out. Do I actually need anything else? Yeah. Alright. As I mentioned before, I actually scouted the area beforehand and marked out the area with torches. So this torch marks the first corner of the building, and somewhere over here, I kind of did torch spam over in the redstone park, but I think the other corner of this building is this torch over here, and up over this hill, down the other side, there we go, is another torch that marks the opposite corner from the one close to my house. So yeah, this build is gonna be big because it's got to fill a 27 slot shulker box, whereas my prototype only filled 2 slots. So yeah, this is gonna be big. So anyway, enough talking, let's cut the time lapse of myself building this machine. So I started off the build by doing a bunch of terraforming first, which consisted of cutting down all the trees in the area, which was a good thing because I was actually really low on wood before this build. Then I leveled out the ground, which was a little difficult because one corner of the machine hung over like a low spot in the ground, and I did not want to spend much time doing terraforming, so I decided to just put a vertical wall and I'll fill it and blend it in later on. Then, using a bunch of torches, I marked out a center area around which the machine will wrap around. Now, in hindsight, I actually got the dimension of that center area wrong, but I'll explain that later. Next, I dug a trench around that center area because if you remember from my prototyping video, the green section of the machine needs to be lower than ground level. So, using that prototype that you can probably see in the background as a reference, I went around in circles and built up the machine up layer by layer. The green section handled the shulker box moving from station to station, and also triggered the yellow section, which is the item counter. I'd like to point out at this point that the wall of hoppers here, yep, that's where I used up my 5 stacks of hoppers. I actually ended up using too many hoppers and came back later and replaced some of them with chests. Up until this point, the whole build was going pretty smoothly until I reached the red section, which is the low stock indicator. Remember how I mentioned earlier that I got the center area dimension wrong? Well, if you look in the corners, the low stock indicators overlap each other, and I ended up just fudging one of the corner circuits off to the side and hung the redstone lamp a little lower so you can still see it. But moving on, I finished the build by adding the orange section, which handles emptying the old shulker box and restocking the machine. Overall, the build turned out pretty alright. So it's been a couple of days since I recorded that time lapse, and that's because the machine still required some extra work after the time lapse to get it fully functional, but now it is fully functional. So I'll explain all the low stuff I did to the machine afterwards, but let's actually demonstrate. So I've got a red shulker box here. This is supposed to be filled with redstone. Right now it's empty, so I'm just gonna fill it with some random redstone dust just to show that the machine does empty the shulker box like it should. And let's put it in. Place it in that spot. I'll start emptying out the items into the item elevator. Piston breaks shulker box, and shulker box should appear in the first slot. And now, item counter is going. it's going to fill this shulker box with exactly 64 redstone blocks, as you can see by the signs here. And while the machine is, the shulker box is going around the machine, I guess I'll explain what each of these slots are like, I guess. So you can see the item that each of these stations will fill in the shulker box is in the item frame up on top. Pretty self-explanatory. The quantity that I've set the item counter to is written on the sign down below. So you can see 64 redstone dust, 24 redstone torch. I decided to go with an odd number, basically a number that was on a power of 2 for the redstone torch, just to show that you can do oddball numbers like that. This item counter should be able to handle any number between 0 and whatever 5 stacks of 64 items turns out to be. I can't do the math off the top of my head. Let's see what other oddball ones are there. Ender pearls. Ender pearls, I decided I want 2 stacks of ender pearls, so I have the ender pearl set to 32, and just because, you know, it is 2 stacks of ender pearl, I purposely left the next slot over empty. So just because this stack of ender pearl will overflow to the next slot and then just continue down. And then I have about like 7 slots at the end of the shulker box that are going to be empty, so just empty slots here. I can always reconfigure this whenever I want in the future. Now, where... Oh, I was gonna say, where was the shulker box? Okay, it's up to the slime balls. Yeah, so while that's still going around, I guess I might as well talk about some of the changes I made to the machine since the end of that time lapse. Up here, you can see the redstone lamps. Actually, it does not change, but I should explain it. This is the low stock indicator, as I mentioned earlier in the time lapse. And when the lamp is on, it should be indicating low stock. However, I did not set the item things yet, just because there's a lot of work, and I just wanted this project to be done with. So right now, you can see this hopper holds a bunch of redstone blocks. However, the redstone block should only be in the first slot. The other 4 should be like a filler or some junk item. Same thing up here with the large chest. All these slots should be filled with something junk, and then only 1 slot should be redstone blocks. Same thing for this hopper up here. That way, we force as much of the inventory up into that chest as possible. And it looks like there's an item stuck up there. Why is an item stuck up there? Uh-oh. I'm gonna have to do more debugging. Anyway, machine mostly works. I need to work out some teething problems. See if I can grab that, yeah. And just pick it back in the water stream. There. Oh, actually, while we're up here, might as well point out another one of the fixes. So, this is actually the first time working with water streams, at least one of this particular design. And the items got stuck in between these water sources. I was hoping that the momentum could just fling it across. No, they got stuck when I had orange concrete blocks here. So I had to replace it with ice, so the item can just slide across the ice and just keep on going. That's one of the fixes. There is one very obvious fix. You know, I'm literally standing right on top of it. This is what not what I built in the time lapse. I'll explain that later. But let me actually explain one more thing at the very end of the water stream. So there is an issue. I'm not sure if it's like because the server can't keep up, there's just too many entities, or maybe I just designed this incorrectly. But sometimes items just flow right past the item filter that they're supposed to get sucked into. When that happens, they reach the end of the water stream because they can't go into any other stations and pretty much fall down this end. So I had to place a trapdoor here just because the items come with some speed off the end of the water stream. So I need to have them pretty much hit the trapdoor, lose their momentum, and then go straight down into the hopper. Like that. And then all the excess, apparently has been some excess for my last test run. But yeah, so all of this needs to get put back into the system so that it can be refilled. Which, didn't mean to fall down here. Let me climb back up. I have to right click that hopper right there. No, give me a shulker box. No! I didn't mean to put the shulker box, I meant to put the observer. Okay, well, that gray shulker box should come around the end here. Oh. And actually, the red shulker box is almost done. Perfect timing. So we'll wait for it. And it shows up in this chest over here. And let's take a look at the contents. I was like, wait, why is it empty? No. Wrong shulker box. Supposed to be the red one. I do have the gray one in my inventory for a good reason, by the way. I'll explain that later. Ta-da! Wait. Oh, we got 1 extra ender pearl. Did it count 1 extra? Huh. Weird. But ta-da, it's mostly correct, which I'm actually quite impressed it got most of this correct. Anyway, I'll likely what happened was I accidentally dropped an extra item in the item counter for the ender pearl over there, which is easy to figure out. I should take one out. But yeah, otherwise, there you go. This is my redstone kit. I'll adjust the quantities later on. To be honest, I don't have enough inventory to run a second time through this machine because I think slime blocks. Yeah, slime blocks I'm low on. That's why I actually have more slime blocks in inventory. I actually spent last night camping at the swamp castle getting more slime balls and slime blocks because, well, I need to fill this machine up. Anyway, ta-da! There we go. Machine works. Now, you guys did just see that it takes a long time to fill up the shulker box. That's why I have the gray one. So conceptually, this is what's going to happen. I would have one redstone shulker box in my inventory that I'll be using. Meanwhile, there'll be a second one that I will put in the machine. It will get loaded up, while I'm doing my own redstone thing, and then eventually come out in this chest. And when the first redstone box that I was using is running low on supplies, I would just come here, drop it off at the machine, let it start doing its thing, and then I'll grab the freshly stocked shulker box out of this chest, and that way I can keep going. So that's my workaround for how long it takes to fill up this thing, because there's no way to get around it. This machine is going to be slow because I'm working at hopper speed. I can't make the hoppers go any faster. I could try to figure out something where like 2 hoppers feed into a single chest, but then like how am I gonna count the items but yet still keep it compact? I don't know. That's not possible. I'm trying to keep this simple, and this has turned way more complicated than I really wanted it to be in the first place. Speaking of complicated, let's walk over here. Actually, no, let's not walk over here. Let me pick these up and walk to the prototype. So, as I was testing the machine at the end of the time lapse, I ran into an issue, and I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier, but you can see it here at the prototype and the associated redstone circuit around this kind of emptying section here. It's not that complicated. It's only like what, 3 or 4 functions: detect, shulker box contents, and then when the shulker box is empty, fire a pulse so that the piston will break it. Meanwhile, on the side, there's a little auto dropper redstone thing, so the dropper can keep firing things up into the item elevator. So there's only 2 things that's actually going on. Well, guess what? If I were to place an empty shulker box here, actually, before I do, let's just break that. So if I were to place an empty shulker box here, this comparator doesn't change state, and therefore nothing happens. So place that, nothing happens. So if I were to place an empty shulker box here, the machine just does nothing. So that's not good. And I had to fix that for the final build. So what I ended up doing was making a much more complicated redstone circuit than I think it needs to be, but I couldn't really figure out any other way to do it. But that's what this white section down here is. It was getting so complicated that I decided, hey, I'm not gonna keep it orange anymore. This deserves its own subsystem color, so I gave it white because that's the remaining color it had. So anyway, but yeah, so and this, by the way, is the most compact I can get it without spending an eternity trying to redo it over and over and over again. So this involved a really long pulse extender here. So what ended up happening was I used an observer block to detect the fact that a shulker box has been placed, whether it's full or not. That way it can handle both cases. But let me sleep, it's getting dark. As I was saying, the observer block helps take care of both cases, whether the shulker box is full or not. Now, when the piston proceeds to break the shulker box when it's finally empty, it also re-triggers the observer block, which is a bad thing. So it gets stuck in this loop of like triggering itself over and over and over again, which is a bad thing. So I had to throw a pulse extender to purposely disconnect the observer block until the piston has retracted. So that's what this pulse extender here is. Now, there's one thing I want to point out in this little redstone circuit that I'm actually really proud of. That it's not a necessary feature. I actually rebuilt this differently. That didn't use this feature, but I purposely went out of my way to put this in, and that is this over here. For those of you who don't recognize this, this is a locked repeater, or at least when it would be on, but right now it's not locked. Anyway, whoops. Locked repeaters, didn't mean to fall down there. Locked repeaters is something I don't see very often in redstone contraptions, and it's probably for good reason. You can achieve the function other ways. To be honest, when I first built this circuit in my creative world, I didn't do the observer lockout thing using a locked repeater. I actually did it with a sticky piston and a block. So yeah, I didn't have to put a locked repeater here, but I wanted it to put one in because I never actually got to use one. I keep thinking every time I make a redstone circuit, I want to put a locked repeater somewhere in this build, and every time I build a redstone circuit, I never say, no, I can't really put a locked repeater here. I'll try next time. Finally, I get to put a locked repeater in one of my redstone builds, and I'm actually quite happy. So I just wanted to share that. Alright, so I just spent a couple minutes trying to figure out why the machine put in an extra ender pearl, and turns out I just didn't clean out this station properly, so there was, I think, like 3 or 4 ender pearls still stuck in this hopper, even though it's supposed to be empty. So I cleaned that out, and now it's working properly. So you can take a look at the shulker box. It is properly filled, so I think I can call this project done, at least the redstone part of it. I still need to put a roof over this, but to be honest, I don't have any inspiration as to what design the building around this will look like, but I will save that for a future Tomcat to fix. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.